Hi guys, real quick before we get into the actual content of this video, I just wanted to mention, in case you were following along, that my book Thrash Metal Drumming is back on. It's coming out October 28th on Hudson Music. I'll of course have a video on the 28th that has to do with thrash metal drumming. And at that time I will of course then have links to the ebook and to the paperback version. So thanks for bearing with me. We thought it would be in July. It wasn't in July, but it's going to be this month. All right, cool, thanks, and on to the actual video. Hi guys, today's video is on the Reveille, which is a rudimental drum call. It's a military signal for waking up in the morning. We typically think of it as a bugle call today in America, but it has a drum antecedent from history. So today we're going to look at the Reveille from Germany, from the Netherlands, from France, and from the United States, and just see how they compare and contrast a little bit. I'm going to actually play on my version of a field drum today that I made myself out of a 14-inch child's bass drum, and I put, of course, wooden snare hoops on it and some snare drum heads, and I attached a strainer. So this isn't a real field drum, but it actually sounds a lot more like a field drum than, say, my kit drum. So anyway, that's what this is. Okay, so the Reveille started in France. That's where the name Reveille comes from, to wake up. And but the first Reveille that I'll play is actually from Germany, because that's the oldest one I can find. It's from 1777, and it comes from the book Kurze Anschweinungstrommel, which I'm sure I'm butchering that because I don't speak German. But it has a really short and kind of funny notation Reveille, and so I'll play it for you now. Okay, so the next Reveille we're going to do is from 1861. It's Dutch, and it comes from the book Voorschrift voor den Staaftoerbouwer, which I'm sure, again, I'm butchering because they don't speak any Dutch. But it's by H.M. van Dorp, and it's going to be a little different than the German one we just saw. Okay, next up we have the French version of the Reveille, which is called La Diane de Reveille, or again, I don't speak French, that's probably butchered, but it's the Diane of the Reveille, whatever that means, okay? So this is where you get what's called the coup de la Diane, which is basically the double drag tap. That's where this originally sort of comes from. This is probably the most original one because it's French, but this version that I'm going to play comes from 1870. So it's a little later than the other two. And it's a little different, but it still features 9-stroke rolls and drags in this case, but it's not that different. Okay, my final Reveille for today is going to be from the United States. The one I'm looking at is from the 1935 U.S. Marine Corps manual, and it is going to be not terribly dissimilar. It still features 9-stroke rolls, which all of these have, and it has single drag taps instead of double drag taps. So it's not exactly the same, but it is definitely many centuries newer than the first one that I played. So of course things change over time. And a lot of the time, Americans didn't use the Reveille in their camp duty. A lot of the time it was 3 camps, followed by the Scotch, the Hessian, and the Hessian and the Dutch, which are all different calls that are part of the Reveille, which is like this whole big thing that we would do. But there are American examples of the Reveille being a distinct call outside of the 3 camps and all that other stuff. So of course, that's what I'm playing here. The American Reveille is also much longer than all the others, so I'm just going to play the first phrase of it, which is pretty representative of how all of it goes. And I'm also going to play it in the most ancient style I can, so that it would be more representative of that French one, which I think is the original, because of course reveille is a French word. So I'm going to play it in the most ancient American style that I can in order to better match the ancientness of the French style. Okay, so there's reveilles from Germany, the Netherlands, France, and the United States, spanning from 1777 to 1935. Obviously, they're not all the same. I only have access to, at the moment, the fife tune for the Dutch and the American version, and I can tell you they're completely different. So even though these are all called the reveille and all feature a somewhat similar snare drum part in that they all have 9-stroke rolls, they're all sort of felt in a 6/8-ish type of meter, they didn't even correspond to the same tunes. So there is a lot of difference there, but there's also a little bit that's the same, which I find kind of interesting. So that's it for me today. Check out my book, Encyclopedia Rudimentia. I will mention that my book, Thrash Metal Drumming, completely different topic, is coming out on October 28th. So stay tuned for that thing. And thanks, guys, and I'll see you next time.